G'day there guys, it's your Aussie hubby Markee, back at it again with another episode of r/Am I the A-hole. Now if you love today's content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy today's bloody good content. Posted by user InfiniteLight5425, titled, Am I the A-hole for kicking my friend out because of breastfeeding? I had some friends over. One, a male with his wife, the other three female. One of the females, we'll call Jane, had a baby 2 months ago, and this is the first time we've seen her. She was away at a family's when she had her baby, so this was a small unplanned baby shower for her. After an hour or so, her baby got fussy and she started breastfeeding her baby. One of their friends, we'll call her RB, rude bitch, started looking upset and asked, "Don't you think we should cover up, especially since there's a man here?" We all just kind of looked at her. My male friend said it's okay since his wife breastfeeds, and his wife nods her head. Well, this upset RB, and she looked back towards me and said to get a blanket. So I got her one, and she said no, it's to cover up with. So I did as she asked and opened up the blankets, and all the while all the other people were giving me a strange look, and I covered RB's head and sat back down. RB got mad and took it off, and said no, that Jane needs to cover. I said what for. RB gets up and tries to put the blanket on Jane. I finally had enough and said if she didn't like seeing someone breastfeed, then she can either look away or leave. Yeah, she got mad saying how I'm choosing Jane over her and that she's known me longer. I told her that you should know by now that I don't believe in covering up, regardless of where you're at, and that it's my house. I also told her that she knows what a pain it is trying to cover up a breast in a screaming, wiggling baby's mouth. So have a nice day. So yeah, she's mad at me, but the rest of us had a good time visiting. So would I be the a-hole for putting the blanket on RB's head? Lol. No, I think you're just making light of the situation. It's a good, fun gesture. No one else had a problem with it. Only RB did. Very odd. She's an a-hole for not reading the room and continuing to push her agenda of sorts when no one else had a problem. That's really what it comes down to. She couldn't accept that no one else was cool with it. She wasn't cool with it, so she had to change the situation. You made fun of her, you put the blanket on her head, everyone had a laugh at her expense. Still don't think you're an a-hole for that. Lol? Not only are you not the a-hole, but I think it's freaking hilarious that you got the blanket and put it over RB's head, making a really good point. Good for you. I came here with my pitchfork out, but you are so not the a-hole and well played with the blanket. Way to be a good friend and stand up for that poor woman. Being shamed for breastfeeding is awful, but you made the situation much better. Good job. Posted by user, I don't know, they deleted their account. Titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting my husband meet our firstborn child? My husband has this best friend, Anna. They've been friends for a long time and dated many years ago, mutually deciding that it's best for them to remain friends. I've had no problem with this relationship until now. On the day that I gave birth, Anna's brother got into a car accident. My husband got a call from her in the middle of the night and asked him if he could drop her at the hospital her brother was at, which was an hour away from us, since she was too scared to drive. My husband agreed, told me quickly while I was half asleep and rushed out. A few hours later, I had contractions and called my husband. He didn't pick up after multiple tries, so I gave up and called my dad, who drove me to the local hospital, which was 12 minutes away. I was so scared of giving birth alone since I've had about 3 miscarriages and 1 stillborn. My husband promised me that no matter what, he would be there for me. Guess what? He wasn't. He called multiple times while I was in labor, and when he finally picked up my dad's call when I was giving birth, saying that he'd misplaced his phone in the chaos, my dad informed him that no matter how fast he drives anymore, he's going to miss the birth of his child. Well, my husband took that as, he's already screwed up, so it doesn't matter when he shows up at this point. No, that's not it. So when he finally came, our daughter was about 5 hours old, and I had finally moved to the maternity ward. When he came, I refused to let him see our baby. Edit, Did let husband hold and play with baby after discharge. Because I was so high on emotions and was shaking when I saw him and didn't want it negatively affecting my time with the baby. I wanted her birth to be a happy time, and I was already struggling to feed her. My husband was in a bad state and told me to please let him see her. So I told him to stand by the window and held the baby up so he could see her. I told him to then leave and he'll be able to interact with the baby at my father's home when we're both well and out of the hospital, and that I was most likely divorcing him. He started bawling and apologizing and defended himself by saying that Anna's brother was in serious critical condition, and although he's fine, Anna needed him. Though Anna's parents were there, she's not that close with them and she was in an unbearable state. I told him that I didn't care, and that his daughter already had come second to him, and all she did was be born. I'm putting my daughter and Maya's health first, and won't let her be sidelined. My husband agreed and left. However, Anna called me later and said that I was being controlling, and she had never met someone as cruel as me for not letting a father see his baby. I told her that my husband made his decision, and that this was his doing and not mine. But now I can't help but feel cruel in my actions and feel like I'm depriving my baby of both her parents being together. My husband sees her a few hours each day now. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I feel like this is useful information and could explain why I was so mad. Anna's brother was not in a life and death situation. He had serious injuries, but most were concentrated on his legs and arm. He did have a concussion but gained consciousness soon. Anna was there along with both her parents who managed all the hospital stuff. My husband was there as an emotional support for Anna. I did let my husband see our baby, right after I got discharged. Edit, husband saw baby, husband held baby, husband played with baby. I wanted a couple of days rest and bonding with the baby, since my emotions were so high, and I was afraid if my husband was a continuous presence, I would get stressed and something bad would happen. I told him as such. They spend time together, but I'm still cold with him. I may still be the a-hole, I don't know, but I'm still so mad at him, and it's not the first time he put Anna before me. I can forgive the other instances since I could handle it, but this time was the straw. I was so scared to hold my baby because I was paranoid the minute I touch her, something would happen to her, and no one was there to comfort me. I only had my dad, but he wasn't in the delivery room, which is why I'm not too keen on forgiving my husband. Also, we both knew the baby was due any time now, so I don't understand why my husband didn't have his phone on him. We even tried reaching out to Anna, and she didn't pick up either. Ooh, okay, there's some emotional support going on there, right? After he learned I was giving birth, he already knew that Anna's brother was going to be alright. He spent that time making sure that Anna was okay, and feeding her, and then waiting for the brother to regain consciousness. He could have come back after seeing his daughter to talk with the brother. He could have made it back in time. Edit. So many of you got it wrong. I'm not preventing him from ever seeing his baby. That is stupid and unreasonable. He literally saw her about a day later when we were discharged and safely at my dad's home. He already didn't see her for 5 hours on purpose and put Anna first. I didn't think an additional day would make much of a difference. And it wasn't to him. He was happy to see the baby, and he spends time with her all the time. She's 2 months now. And also, I'm not mad about the fact he went to see Anna. I'm mad that he didn't think we were a high priority to rush back to. He left me so quickly in the middle of the night when I was already late. He couldn't have left Anna in the care of her parents and rushed as soon as possible. She's not a child, and she doesn't have any mental health issues either. Edit 3. Sorry for all the edits, but someone just messaged me this. What if my baby was a stillborn again? He had no way to know since he and I didn't have any contact after I gave birth. Thank the stars, my baby is healthy and well, but it was a possibility. Edit/update. Thank you everyone for your replies. I think that I was the a-hole for using my child against him and should have told him that he could hold the baby and then asked him to leave. So the divorce is probably going to happen. My brother is looking at lawyers for me. In the midst of this whole mess, This post made me realize I never checked on Anna's brother to see how he's healing, because I was so irked by Anna. I called him, and he said that he was doing well and will be out of his wheelchair soon. He asked about me and the baby and how I was doing with the split, and if I was okay with my husband and Anna. I can't believe I was so oblivious. I thought they had an emotional thing going on because of this, and when I confronted my husband, he denied it and said me and our baby were his priority, and he made a mistake and he was being dumb. Yeah, no. Anna's brother kindly informed me that he and Anna's parents thought that my husband and I split when I was 7 months pregnant, and that Anna and him were back on. He showed up at the hospital as Anna's boyfriend, which is why they didn't bat an eye that he was there, and not with his pregnant wife, because we apparently split. Her brother's procedures were done well before the afternoon, so I don't know what my husband and Anna were doing for all those hours, but I don't even want to know. If you want more details, I can answer in a comment. Thanks everyone for your kind words and advice. I will be moving back and filing for full custody. I don't want my baby growing up to be like her father or Anna. He can be fun dad or whatever it is he wants to be. Last edit. I think I'm going to take a break from Reddit now, because ranting on the internet doesn't seem healthy. Thanks everyone for their support. I'll take it from here. Well, I think it's pretty clear from that. I don't think we need comments for this one. That was a rollercoaster and a half, I will admit. Posted by user BroncoBFBC. Titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my wife a Karen as she was making a scene? Throwaway account for obvious reasons, here goes. My wife and I are very opposites. Like, very. She tends to have narcissistic episodes when she doesn't get her way. She can sometimes treat people like crap. A while back, we were at a Sonic getting some drinks during their happy hour, and they got the size wrong on a drink. She then asked the teenage girl, "How hard is your job?" I was livid. First off, Sonic was my first job as a kid. I went through PTSD mode of a customer yelling at me over a slight inconvenience. I've been on the other side of that window. I just yelled out, "Hey, chill out." She got mad at me and said, "I don't know why you defend them when they can't do their job right." We let it go. Fast forward to today. We've been trying to get our dog's nails trimmed for some time now at PetSmart, and we were finally able to make an appointment because of the Rona. We get there, and they can't find our names on the list, and they're pretty booked up till next week. She then starts to go off on the dog groomer and starts causing a scene, saying, "How could you lose my appointment? I've been waiting for weeks. I wish we still lived in Boston, because they have more pet marts and competent people working instead of useless people like you." I was embarrassed and livid at the same time, so I grabbed her arm and said, "Stop being a Karen and get in the car now. I will handle this." She storms off to the car, and I apologized to the staff, told them to call me instead of her, and apologized again. I seriously cannot stand it when people are rude to public servants. I couldn't keep quiet anymore. When I finally go outside, I find that she left me there. I call her, and she sends me to voicemail. I take a lift home. I get home, and she is mad in tears. She says that I embarrassed her and made her look like a fool when a partner should always have their partner's back, no matter what. I told her that I disagree to that, and she has now been giving me the silent treatment for about 6 hours now. Am I the a-hole? Edit 1. Yes, I love this person. Edit 2. She's my work in progress. We've talked about her behavior when we were engaged, and I called off the wedding due to her behavior. She acknowledged it and said that we are good for each other because I keep her grounded, but she sometimes reverts to her narc self at times. Edit 3. She dubbed herself work in progress, not me. Both situations, I've been trying to reason, is it okay to get mad at them for this? And me working at McDonald's for like almost 5 years? No, not really. You come back, and you be an adult, and you keep your emotions level, and you get the situation sorted. Now, the one with the dogs and the nails, that kinda does suck that they lost the appointment there, and I can understand being upset, but You know, you can always trim the dog's nails yourself. They have clippers for that. Unless your dog bites people like mine, I can understand that. But her actions were unreasonable. She's a work in progress. I don't think OP is the a-hole for calling her out. You're not supposed to put up with those kinds of behaviors. You're supposed to fix them. And he was giving her constructive advice, not the a-hole. Everyone sucks here. You two need to work on your communication skills. Agreed. OP does not get a pass for being the good guy. They should probably have a conversation when they start talking again. Grabbing her arm and yelling was not cool. Would like to know what you would have done if you were in OP's place. I'd probably have left it at a hand on the shoulder or around the arm. OP says, I do not disagree with you. Our communication could be better. There are so many armchair therapists writing below. Don't break up with her because Reddit has told you to. Don't go back to using these arguments as ammunition. If you read enough of these, you will grow resentment against her, but these people aren't in your real life or in your heart. Not the a-hole, but man, you really might want to consider what you are actually dealing with here. She's my work in progress. You are her boyfriend, not her dad. Your partner should be someone that is your peer and who treats you with respect, not someone you parent. I'm sorry, but you won't fix this woman. She doesn't want to be fixed. Her life is exactly how she wants it. All she has to do to keep everything that way is occasionally tell you that she will change. She acknowledged it and said that we are good for each other because I keep her grounded. No, you are good for her because you ground her. She is bad for you because she is a narcissist who treats you horribly. Because she is a narcissist, she assumes that if it's good for her, it's good for everyone. And yes, I love this person. That is not a good enough reason to stay with someone who treats you and everyone around you like crap. She sounds like a terrible bully. Can you imagine what would happen to your children if you had a family with her? Do you want her leaving them on the side of the road or going off on them? Oh, frick. You just painted a horrible picture. I'm sorry you're in this position, my friend. I wish I had something more uplifting to say, but you do have the power to leave. You do not need her consent. I can understand that it always hurts when we cut ties with someone we love, but it gets better as time goes on. And it also frees you to eventually find someone who is a nice person and who actually loves you back. Posted by user DeafBaby456, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling everyone exactly why I'm getting divorced? My ex and I have one child together. We found out during my pregnancy that our child would be deaf and wouldn't qualify for the surgery that some deaf people are able to get due to a combination of problems. While the external issue is a fluke, the internal issue is apparently something that I always had a 25% chance of passing down to a child. Not to toot my own horn, but once I learned this, I made an effort to start connecting with the deaf community in my area and learn ASL. He did not, and while he stayed for the birth, he moved in with his brother right after dropping me off at my home. I own the house, and did before I met him, so it's not part of the divorce. He was nice enough to give me 2 months' worth of a cleaning service and a gift card to Grubhub. Thanks husband, that's really cool. He ended up telling everyone that I am the reason he doesn't see our child, and that I filed for divorce because I overreacted. The truth is that I have sole custody because he cried in court that he couldn't deal with the baby, and wanted to just pay support. While I did file, it was because he abandoned me and said so many horrible things that I couldn't get over. I have text messages he sent me, which he says that he wouldn't have married me if he knew that we would produce problems, and that he couldn't handle raising a... oh, that's not a nice word. The only thing wrong with her is her hearing. I don't want my child to grow up in a home where she's hated. I was starting to hear all sorts of crap from my family and his, who started to take his side because divorce isn't really a thing here. So I took action. I made a social media post publishing the text messages so that people would finally see the truth. I'm now getting calls and messages for making a private issue public and parental alienation. Am I the a-hole? I think it goes without saying that absolutely not the a-hole for this, but there is a few caveats here that I think convince them to make this post. The big one for me is living in a town where divorce really isn't a thing. I imagine the culture there isn't too accepting or inviting of this, and if you can point a finger at someone, they will all dogpile on that person and shame them. Obviously, that's my view of it, that's how I'm perceiving why she thinks she's the a-hole, because these people won't look at reason. And unless they have the receipts, they have these text messages that this guy has sent her and the crying in court and everything, unless they have the full picture, they're gonna take his side because he's the one getting broken up with, even though he's the one that initiated it. I don't get why family law has to be so messy and disgusting. Like, I would never go into it myself after hearing stories from my mother. Family law is, it's brutal. It's brutal. This is just another classic case of family law going to courts and being messy. So I side with OP, they're not the a-hole. Screw that guy for walking out on his daughter. Not the a-hole. This guy has no business smearing you and damaging your reputation. You did what you had to do to set the record straight, and nobody can fault you for that. Hey OP, I've no idea where you're from, but if you're in the US, you can sue for slander and defamation of character. He is clearly doing both. You could get some money to help your child, whether that's paying to go to a school for the deaf, hiring an ASL aide, or paying for surgery if that's something you and or your child is interested in. But also not the a-hole. Your ex is a major gaping a-hole, however. They say that's what the child support is for. I'm saving as much of it as possible for future education costs. I just want to take a moment to say a huge kudos to you for making the effort to connect with the deaf community in your area and learn ASL for your daughter. I'm a graduate student studying sign language linguistics, and a lot of hearing parents of deaf children don't understand how vitally important it is for their kids to be exposed to sign language from as young an age as possible. You may already know this, but deaf kids who are exposed to sign language from birth have better outcomes in a huge variety of developmental milestones, including literacy in English, math, memory, spatial reasoning. The list goes on and on. Not to mention the huge differences it makes to feel loved and supported by your mum. Thank you for doing what's best for your daughter, where many parents don't make the effort to. I know it will mean the world to her as she grows up. Posted by user Underwater Karma, titled, Am I the a-hole for bailing on a hike when an unfit person came along? Apologies for the length, that's what he said, but here goes. I'm an avid mountain trail hiker, and have been trying to get some friends to come on one of my favorite hikes. It's an almost 2,000 feet elevation gain, 8 miles round trip, but has a huge payoff and vista at the top. It's a very challenging hike, but this is an athletic group who could handle it. Last Saturday, we had the hike planned. I sent everyone a prep list, footwear, sun protection, water, snacks, etc. When everyone showed up at the trailhead, one of the girls had brought along a friend I'd never met, and it was clear she was not going to do well on the hike. She brought nothing. No hat for sun protection, no water, no snacks, was wearing Tiva-style sandals, and extremely overweight. The sandals alone were a disqualifier. This is a rocky climb, not a walk through the woods. I tried to be political and said, I don't think this is going to work, and stressed the advanced difficulty of the hike and the importance of proper footwear and hydration. I didn't mention anything about her weight, specifically avoided it in fact, and yet I was immediately accused of fat shaming and assuming a heavy person can't be physically fit. This hike had disaster written all over it. There was just a 0% chance of it being a pleasant day, so I eventually said that I just didn't want to ruin anyone else's day, and I left. I had "You're a dick" on my phone before I was out of the parking lot. This was 9 AM. At 5:30 PM, I get a text from one of the guys with a photo of the entire group sitting in an emergency room. Text said, "Dude, this has been a fudging nightmare." I got the story the next day that the out-of-shape girl couldn't hike more than a few hundred yards without needing to stop to rest, had drank all of her friend's water before getting halfway on the trail, and when told, "We're almost halfway," sat down and started crying, saying she wanted to go back. Long story short, On the downhill, she fell and gashed her leg pretty badly and had to be helped to keep walking, resulting in another guy falling and spraining his ankle. Hours later, they made it back to the cars and everyone went to the ER to support the 2 injured people. Now, nearly a week later, half the group has been telling me how right I was, that we all should have known to call it off, but the other half is still calling me a jerk. One said I bailed when they needed me the most. So, am I the a-hole? I 100% knew this was going to go badly. So knowing that, should I have hung around to help my friends through the inevitable hardship? Or was I right to say, you're on your own with this terrible decision? I think there's 2 schools of people in this situation. There's people that are going to avoid the situation because they can see it coming, but I think there's also people that stick around and help because they know these people would be screwed without their help, and they bring additional supplies to make up for that because they know what's going to happen. I don't think either schools of thought are wrong in this decision. I think either way you would be not the a-hole. It's just this one, the way you went about it made it a lot worse for these people. I personally would probably do the same thing you did, OP. I'm not sticking around for that. That's an entire day wasted just to have an inevitable outcome happen anyway. Everyone else had the decision not to go through with the hike. They did it anyway. It could have resulted in the death of someone, because hiking is nothing to mess around with. Who knows? It didn't this time. They were lucky. I still hold to the fact that OP is not the a-hole. Been there, done that. Had to bail on a hike in the Sierra because my partner clearly hadn't trained for it as much as he said he had. A couple of days in, we were already a day behind schedule. You were, in fact, there when they needed you most, right at the beginning. They chose to not listen to you. Thanks, that actually helps. Absolutely mind-blowing that this person thought they could do an 8-mile hike with no gear and hadn't physically prepared for it. The people calling you a jerk are just as delusional. They were more afraid of coming off as being fat-phobic than stating the reality, in which the outcome someone could get physically hurt, and they did. You did the right thing, OP. Mileage doesn't necessarily equal difficulty. We have a lot of long, flattish loops around me that can totally be hiked in sandals or biked by beginners. On some trails, I can do a long hike with no prep and minimal equipment. There is some steep, short trails where I struggle because it's 3 miles of rock scramble. It's possible this girl was in shape, but just clueless at how difficult the terrain and elevation gains made the distance. As someone who is out of shape, women's size 20 pants / XXL fat, and does enjoy a nice hike, you can damn well bet I research where my friends are going before deciding to join. She knew her body better than anyone else, and should have done the research. At the very least, wearing proper shoes and bringing water would go a long way in ensuring she could make it. And if I got there and someone more experienced was like, hey, you dressed wrong for this FYI, I would uninvite myself, wish them well, maybe plan to meet up later and hit up a less difficult trail in the area. Fat doesn't equal out of shape, although personally I am out of shape. But showing up ill-prepared does equal a disaster waiting to happen. Alright guys, that's where I'm going to end today's video. I really do hope you enjoyed it, and maybe even learned something that you didn't know before. If you haven't already, please do feel free to click that like button, as it really does help me in the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't already and you love today's video, please feel free to subscribe. I would love it a lot. Also, big shout out to all my Patreon members and channel subscribers. You guys are all up on the screen right now. I love you. I love your faces. Also, I love seeing you guys all chatting down below in the comments. It brightens my day to see the stories that you guys share and just the kind words you guys always have for my videos, as well as everyone else in the videos. I love you too. But honestly, your ongoing support means the world to me, and I just love it so much that you guys are able to support a career for myself that I invest so much time into. And you guys honestly motivate me to work harder each and every day to put more love into the videos for you guys. If you guys have watched this far in the video and you haven't already subscribed on Patreon or become a channel member, that's cool, you don't have to, but there are links down below. You can donate any amount of money, pledge that any month, cancel whenever. I'm completely cool with it. It's just there for you to support me if you'd like to go the extra mile. And I'll go the extra mile for you guys by putting out new amazing content every single day. With that said, guys, I really hope you have a good day, night, sleep, bath, time at work, whatever you're up to today. This has been Markee. I'll see you in the next amazing video. Bye.